Video, and I'm here to share my home buying journey and numbers and my refinance process. So first, we're going to get into my closing information from my original house loan. So originally it was a 30-year purchase, it's a fixed rate, and it was an FHA loan. And I actually was able to get a grant in my state of Maryland. I was able to get a grant, and that helped with my down payment. So that was like $5,000. So the loan amount that I got my house for was $142,373. And my interest rate was pretty high. I think was 4.25%. It still was not bad. So the principal and interest is $739. Now, if you never purchased a house, or if you're in the home buying process now, when you purchase your home, on your lender normally only can really give you your principal and your interest until you're approved for the loan, and then you go out and you find your home insurance. And then if you have most FHA loans, depend if you put down 3% or 5% on your down payment. So if you do not have like a conventional loan or something like that, and if you're not putting down 20%, you will have PMI. Now, the difference between a conventional PMI and the FHA PMI is that the conventional PMI, you can get rid of that after, I think it's like if you paid 80% on your mortgage, but an FHA PMI will remain for the life of the loan. And I think these terms changed in maybe around 2015. So my FHA loan had a mortgage insurance, which is private mortgage insurance, PMI of $98.35. And my escrow balance just includes my homeowner's insurance, my property taxes, and my ground rent, which is $291.45. And if you're in the process of looking for a home or trying to buy a home, find out if there is a penalty to pay your loan off. From what I learned in 2008, banks should no longer be doing this. They should not give you a penalty to pay off your loan. So it should say no on your documentation. So I'm able to pay my loan off before the 30 years and will not get penalized for it, which is amazing. So my estimated closing costs for my house was $10,941.96. And this is $6,328.35 was loan cost, and $4,613 was for other costs. And what I had to take to closing was $1,075.73, which was amazing for me. And also the seller actually paid some closing costs as well. So this was my original loan. So my original mortgage was $1,090.19 in 2018. Now, in 2019, I did have what they call an escrow analysis. And I noticed from the very beginning when I went to closing, because what I got on this document was different than what I have had the week prior as far as my mortgage. My mortgage the week prior was around $1,020 or something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. But I noticed that the taxes were higher when I went to closing than what originally was placed. So after I closed on August the 3rd, I was able to go into my account on in my state to see how much my property taxes was and what was covered. And I noticed that the state had added in a water bill from the previous owners. They added it on to the taxes that I now had to pay. So that is what shot my mortgage up to this amount from when I originally got the amount, which I think was like under 120, and it shot this up. So come 2019 in August, I had an escrow analysis, and that is when they look at everything that you have paid, like your property taxes, your home insurance, and everything. Property taxes, homeowners insurance, and everything like that. They look at all of that to see if I either paid, if my escrow was more than what I was supposed to have, or it was less than what I was supposed to have. So thankfully, for the last year in 2019, everything was less, and the taxes actually had decreased because I called to get them to change that, because I was not paying for I think it was over $1,000 for someone else's water bill. Was not doing it. So that changed drastically. So that was my original loan mortgage, $1,090.19. So now we're gonna head on over. To my loan estimate that I received in March for my refinance of this year. So originally when I refinanced, I was at 26 years, I believe, because I've been in my house for almost would have been August. This August would have been 3 years. So it was like 2 years plus when I started this refinance. And so I did not want to, you hear stories about the refinance space, and they say don't refinance for a 30-year mortgage if you're already in a 30-year mortgage. Refinance for like 15 years or so. For me, I knew that that was not possible because I did not want to pay all of that money for my mortgage when I know that I could actually pay my mortgage off quicker if I get closer to the year the term that I had, or actually get 30 year. So I actually originally in March, and for this particular lender, I actually chose to get another FHA, but this was the FHA Streamline refinance, which means they did not do an appraisal on your house. So I still would have PMI. But the good thing about this mortgage was that it was it's for 25 years, which was a couple years less than where I'm already am. Like maybe about a year less than where I already am. 2 years more actually. So it was 25 years, okay. And the loan amount was $138,644. And the interest rate was amazing. Like it was 2.875 for the interest rate. I was happy about that. That was the reason for me to refinance, to get a lower interest rate and to get a lower mortgage payment. So my principal and interest was $648.49, and it's still a no penalty prepayment penalty for this particular company. And so in total, I would have had principal and interest would have been $648.49. My mortgage insurance would have been a couple dollars less, which is $95. My escrow decreased drastically from $291 from my original loan to $224. So my mortgage would have been $967. And for closing costs for this particular loan would have been $6,106, and the estimated closing cost was $3,180. And as you can see, this kind of like doubles my closing costs that I paid when I originally got my house. But we're going to do some math here. So we're going to see, we're going to do some math here. So originally, my original loan was $142,373. And this refinance loan would have been $138,600 $138,644. So that would have been a total savings of $3,729. I'm just comparing from what I started with to what the refinance would have been. So this is 2 years kind of in between. And that would have been that. The interest rate was significantly lower. The principal and interest went down a little bit as well. And as you can see, the mortgage went down. So this, where I started out in 2018, minus 967, that would have been $123 difference. So that was this refinance information. And for this one, this was the company. And then at the end, I think when this loan lasted, well, this refinance lasted until the end of May, which was so frustrating because, like I stated, I had a state grant for my down payment. And the reason that this refinance was taking so long was that they could not get documentation from this grant, because this grant, I had to live in my house for 5 years, maybe $5,000. Had to stay in my house for 5 years, and I would not have to pay it back. I only been in my house at this point almost 3 years, over 2.5 years. So they cannot give the lender any information because that grant was not completed. So this refinance could not really get me approved because they could not get documentation. So I had to go out and contact my previous lender from when I first got the house in 2018. I had to reach out to him to see if he can get documentation for me. And I'm on talking to him and discussing everything with him, letting him know what kind of loan I was getting from them, and discussed it with him. He actually gave me better numbers. So I decided, after speaking with him, I decided to just cancel and stop this refinance altogether. So that's what happened. But even though I canceled it, about 2 weeks later or a week later, they actually sent me an approval letter. And it was just crazy because it was crazy. So at the time that I was refinancing, my mortgage was at like $136,000 is where I actually was at that time. So this refinance was canceled by me, did not go through with it. So now I'm going to actually show you guys the refinance that I went with. Now, it's like I said, some might not agree with this, but I agree with it. And I know what can be done. So this refinance actually ended on June 23rd. So as you can see, my terms are 30 years for this refinance. It's a 30-year term, but it's a conventional loan, which means, and I did have to get an appraisal with this loan. The loan amount is for $140,000. The interest rate is still less than my original interest rate, which was 3.5%. My mortgage principal and interest is $628.58. And I do not have PMI with this insurance because my house appraised for well over what I originally bought it for, which was a blessing. So now I have, as you come down here, The mortgage is $628.58. No PMI. My escrow is $231.02. So my actual total mortgage at this time is $859.60. So we're going to do some math. So we started out in 2018. I'm sorry. At the mortgage was $1,090.19. And we're going to subtract that from the mortgage that I have now. And that's a $230 difference. Now, so some a month, and that's a month, $230 difference every single month. When I before I refinanced, my mortgage that I was paying in 2021 was $1,019 was the original loan, nothing extra put to it. Cause I was maybe put about $10 extra or so. So my mortgage for 2021, I started January 2021 was $1,019, and now I am paying $860. That's $159 difference starting August through the remaining of the loan year. So now, some of you say, oh my gosh, you started all over. I did start over, but with this loan being $140,000 and my original loan when I started January was around a little over $136,000, I know that I can get there now. And the way that I will do that, my plan was originally to put $100 towards this mortgage, which would have made this $960 a month starting in August. But as you all know, life happened, things happen, job situation. So this is not going to happen right now. So right now, I'm just going to pay the minimum amount on my mortgage. I'm hoping and praying that starting in January of 2022, I can put $100 at least for the first 6 months. That will knock down my mortgage significantly. And I think it will be about a couple years, so I can get back down to 27 years just by putting an extra $100 a month, if not less. So that was my reasoning behind me going ahead and getting the 30-year, because I know if I put extra money towards it, I can also pay it off. So as for right now, I think if everything work out with me getting another job or whatever I happen to want to do, 2022, my goals are to pay student loans simultaneously and also pay my mortgage down. And I feel like I have about a discretionary $500 in my income at this time, income right now. So we will see what happens with everything going on in my life. And I actually made my first mortgage payment in August, and this is where we are. Sorry, this is really long, but this is where I am now. As you all know, when you first purchase a house, majority of your money goes towards interest, and it sucks. But my goal is to get my loan down to about here, $136,165.16 by mid-June of 2022. That is my goal, and I believe I can do it if once everything works out. And that is it for my refinance process. And I know it has been a long video, but I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my September monthly budget video. See you soon.